On the eve of the college entrance exam, while rushing to meet Chu Xiao, I got on the wrong car. A deranged driver took me to a funeral home and locked me in the morgue. He even drugged me with a hallucinogen, making me believe the corpse before me was Chu Xiao. I held on to it all night. The next day, footage from the morgue leaked. I went from being a top student to being universally reviled as the corpse-sleeping girl. My father ran out to stop the school principal's car to beg for a second chance for me to retake the exams, and ended up getting hit and left in a vegetative state. I went to beg Chu Xiao for a loan, but was dragged by a gang of thugs into an abandoned factory, where I was tortured for 3 whole days before finally dying. Just before I died, I heard the gang leader video calling Chu Xiao, "Brother Chu, as you ordered, we've wrecked the person, yes, still breathing." There was a brief silence from Chu Xiao on the other end of the line before he spoke coldly, "Send me the video. I'll let Sui Sui see what's become of the woman who caused her humiliation." So, from start to finish, it was all just Chu Xiao's game of revenge. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the moment Chu Xiao had asked me out. Right before her eyes was Chu Xiao's handsome face, magnified in her view. "Yan Yan, the college entrance exam is tomorrow. I prepared some gifts for you. Tonight at 10. I'll have a friend pick you up downstairs. Just get in his car, don't tell anyone. Okay, this is our little secret." As he said this, he winked with those charming, peach blossom eyes of his. I couldn't hide my shock. My nails dug almost painfully into my palms. On this very day in my past life, Chu Xiao, the school heartthrob I'd had a thing with all through high school, suddenly asked to meet me that night. He told me to come downstairs at 10 o'clock sharp, saying a black Magotan would be there to pick me up. I thought he was going to confess his feelings to me. I rushed downstairs in high spirits and got into the car without a second thought. Instead, I was taken to a funeral home and spent the whole night holding a corpse. From then on, my reputation was ruined, and I fell into an abyss. In my past life, I believed Chu Xiao's excuse, thinking it was entirely my fault for getting into that pervert's car, which led to my terrible fate. So even when everyone despised me, I never revealed that Chu Xiao was the one who asked to meet me. It wasn't until he brought those thugs and dragged me into the abandoned factory that I finally understood. From the very beginning, his only purpose in getting close to me was to get revenge for his beloved Baiyue Guang, Jiang Sui Sui. What kind of grudge is that? It's almost laughable, all because, on the day of our final exam in freshman year, I was sitting in front of Jiang Sui Sui. She asked me to let her copy my answers. I refused and even reported her to the teacher. Feeling utterly humiliated, Jiang Sui Sui stormed out of the exam hall early and headed to the arcade to blow off steam. Unfortunately, she caught the attention of some local troublemakers and was, I believe, groped a few times. I later heard she fell ill for a while because of it. Racked with guilt, I spent my hard-saved money to buy her a pair of designer shoes. I thought the whole matter was over and done with, yet it was something Chu Xiao would never forget. The agony of my pelvis being snapped in two. Even a lifetime later, the memory still sends a cold sweat down my spine. I lowered my head, desperately trying to suppress the hatred burning in my eyes. Mistaking my reaction for shyness, Chu Xiao reached out and gently ruffled my hair. "All right, I'll wait for you. I won't leave until I see you." I nodded, then pretended to be shy as I ran out of the grove. In reality, I took a detour and circled back from the other side. Sure enough, beneath the large banyan tree where only Chu Xiao had been moments before, a few smiling men and women had now gathered. Among them was the driver who sent me to the funeral home in my past life. "Everything's arranged. The body is a homeless guy with half his head missing. TSK. I wonder if Lin Yan will be scared to death when she wakes up tomorrow. Ha ha ha. Brother Yong, is that knockout drug or hallucinogen of yours reliable? Will Lin Yan really mistake the corpse for our brother Xiao? Don't worry. That's a banned substance from the US. I got it through my connections." Jiang Sui Sui nestled into Chu Xiao's arms. "Brother Xiao, aren't we going a bit too far?" Chu Xiao gave a cold, mocking laugh. "This is just a little appetizer. She ruined your reputation, gave you that goddamn depression. Do you have any idea how it felt, seeing you swallow those sleeping pills? How much it tore me apart. Ruining Lin Yan's future was just the first step of the plan. Next, I'm going to completely destroy her life." As I listened to Chu Xiao's unrestrained torrent of hatred, silent tears had already soaked my entire face. Even after having died once, I still secretly prayed in my heart, was there some misunderstanding in my final moments of that past life? It wasn't until this very moment, hearing him say with my own ears that he intended to ruin my life. The howl of a mad dog echoed in my ears, and I couldn't stop my body from trembling. I closed my eyes for a moment, Only daring to stop the phone's recording after they had moved off into the distance, I knew it was time to make a decision too. In the evening, the black Magotan pulled up right on time. I got in the car, acting as if nothing was out of the ordinary. Click, the doors and windows locked immediately after. I stared in silence at the back of the driver's head. This man is Zhang Yong. I only found out after my death in my past life that he was one of Su Sue's devoted followers. He bribed the funeral home staff. And he was also the one who supplied all the sedatives and hallucinogens. Even the homeless men who later tortured me to death were introduced to Chu Xiao by him. I had never even met him before, yet he wanted me dead, all for Su Sue's sake. His hand reached for the AC switch. Let's get some fresh air in here, he said. My heart clenched. I knew it. The knockout drug was hidden right there. Sure enough, a sickly sweet fragrance began to seep out. I held my breath, lunged forward, and yanked Zhang Yong's mask off. Using the momentum, I shoved his head toward the ventilation vent. Fuck you. Zhang Yong opened his mouth to curse at me, but in doing so, inhaled even more of the knockout gas. His eyelids grew heavy and began to droop uncontrollably, and the foot pressing the accelerator lost its strength, slowly easing off as the car slowed. I seized the moment, hit the unlock button, flung the door open, and jumped out. My knees slammed hard against the ground, a searing pain shooting through them. I sat by the roadside, watching as Zhang Yong's car smashed through the guardrail and tumbled down the hillside. A deafening boom echoed, followed by flames leaping skyward. I stared coldly at the half of the night sky illuminated by the light, then turned and walked away because he was up to no good. Zhang Yong deliberately chose this road with no surveillance cameras. The dashcam was off, too, so even if he died here, there would be no evidence pointing to me. Isn't that exactly what they asked for? I hobbled along the mountain path for an hour and only hailed a cab home once I was well clear of that area. I arrived home just as my parents were packing up their late night food stall for the day. The moment I saw them, a flood of guilt and longing washed over me. I threw myself into their arms and sobbed uncontrollably for a long time. Mom held me, flustered and unsure what to do. Is the pressure getting to you, Yen? It's okay if you didn't do well on the exam. I can support you by running my stall. Dad pulled a few exquisitely wrapped chocolates from his pocket. Here, sweetheart. Have some candy. Looking at my gentle mother and kind-hearted father, I thought of their fates in my past life, one driven to madness, the other left in a vegetative state. I didn't even know if they could survive after I died. My heart ached with a deep, swelling sorrow. I lifted my head, wiping away my tears. Mom, Dad, don't worry. I promise I'll take good care of you for the rest of my life. As for Chu Xiao and Jiang Sui, scum like them belongs in the gutter. 3. I forced myself to get my head in the game, pushing all other thoughts aside. The college entrance exam was the only thing that mattered right now. The next morning, when I arrived at the test center and got in line for security, I was surprised to find Chu Xiao and Jiang Sui were already there. Jiang Sui looked utterly exhausted, and dark circles hung under Chu Xiao's eyes. The moment he saw me, he strode over. Lin Yan, where were you last night, and why didn't you answer my calls? I blinked innocently and deliberately raised my voice. Oh, you mean about asking me out? I thought about it, and honestly, my exams are just more important right now. As for not answering your calls, oops, my bad. I must have accidentally blocked your number. I apologized, but I had absolutely no intention of unblocking him. Chu Xiao's expression grew increasingly grim, perhaps because he had a guilty conscience. He didn't press the matter further, instead forcing out an awkward smile. You're right, the exam is important. He reached out and took my backpack. Come on, I'll walk you to the exam hall. I fell half a step behind, quietly studying his profile. There's no denying that Chu Xiao possesses remarkably handsome features, especially those captivating peach blossom eyes. When they look at you, you feel like you're the only person in the world. My initial downfall was, in no small part, due to those very eyes. I once even dared to dream that his eyes held no one but me. Yet, the truth is, his wandering heart could indeed become devoted to just one person. It's just that the person wasn't me. Just as the exam papers were being collected, several law enforcement officers suddenly entered the examination hall. Student Lin Yan, you have been reported for possessing unauthorized examination aids. Please cooperate with our inspection. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Wait, isn't Lin Yan the top student in the whole grade at first high? Could it be that all her previous grades were from cheating? Damn. And I actually looked up to her. Turns out she's a total fraud. I spotted Chu Xiao on the edge of the crowd. He was watching me, a glint of smug satisfaction hidden in his eyes, yet his lips were pressed into a tight line. giving his expression a complex and peculiar look. I felt not a shred of panic. Calmly, I followed the enforcement officers into the inspection room and watched as they turned all my belongings inside out. I even cooperated with the female teacher conducting the pat-down, letting her search me thoroughly from head to toe. In the end, they found nothing. The inspection team members exchanged glances and announced in a flat, indifferent tone, "You may return to your exam." I didn't react as they had expected. With an emotional breakdown or effusive gratitude, I gathered my belongings and, looking at the team leader's ID badge, clearly stated his name. "I've got my eye on you. After the exam, I'm calling the authorities to report this. The surveillance footage clearly shows whether I cheated or not, yet you insist on handling it this way. I have good reason to suspect you've been bribed to get inside my head, to throw me off my game." The person's facade of stern seriousness instantly shattered. I pretended not to notice him glancing at Chu Xiao and calmly walked back into the exam hall with my threat to report him. The first day of exams finally concluded without further incident. On the way out of school, you pass by a small flower bed. I glanced at a small hole in one of the trees. It held the high-tech cheating pen that Chu Xiao had secretly slipped into my bag. My palms were clammy with a belated sweat. If I hadn't been vigilant enough to thoroughly search my bag after getting it back from Chu Xiao, my current predicament would have been unthinkable. Alongside the relief, I couldn't help but feel my eyes welling up. The bright moon I once looked up to with reverence had no intention of illuminating my path forward. For the head invigilator's surname is Jiang. He might be connected to Jiang Suisui. Following this lead, I dug into his social connections and sure enough, uncovered that he is a distant relative of the Jiang family. So, when drafting the complaint letter, I made a point of highlighting this connection. Meanwhile, I was in a live stream on a certain short video platform, tearfully recounting everything that had happened to me that day. Since I often live stream myself solving problems, I built a bit of a reputation online as a study-focused content creator. The moment the livestream went live, Chu Zhao's call came through. "Lin Yan, take down everything you just posted. Now, do you have any idea that Suisui was already suffering from depression, and yet you still provoke her like this? Are you deliberately trying to push her over the edge? Suisui was right about you. You're a viper, rotten to the core." A tightness gripped my chest. It took several deep breaths before I could steady myself. "Chu Xiao, the one you've always loved. It's Jiang Suisui, isn't it?" Chu Zhao's voice paused, then he sneered. "If you still want to be with me, delete all of that immediately and make a public apology." I tightened my grip on the phone. "I was just stating the facts." "Facts? You think any of that can hurt Suisui? Don't be naive. The only one who'll end up getting hurt is you. You have 1 hour, or you'll face the consequences." The call was cut off. I stared at the darkened screen, my chest heaving. "I won't delete it," I said to myself. The Jiang and Chu families are both wealthy. Without leveraging the power of the internet, I'd stand no chance against them. The reason I haven't released the video I recorded in the Grove that day yet is twofold. First, Zhang Yang's situation is unclear. There doesn't seem to be any movement on his end. Second, I need to build some anticipation for the whole incident to maximize the impact of public opinion. I thought to myself, having experienced everything in my past life, what is there left to fear in this one? But I never, in my wildest dreams, imagined he would turn the knife on my parents. At 9 in the evening, an unknown number suddenly sent me a video. In the footage, a gang of menacing thugs smashed my parents' late-night food stall. The final shot showed them grabbing my father and forcing his hand toward a pot of boiling oil. I shot to my feet, my vision swimming and darkening. I called my mom, but she didn't answer. I had no choice but to call the auntie who ran the stall with her. "Yan Yan, your parents are at the city center hospital. They didn't want me to tell you. Afraid it would upset you." The pain was so intense I could barely breathe. I wanted to slap myself. Stumbling my way to the hospital, I reached the ward door and heard my father's hoarse voice. "You didn't tell Yan Yan, did you? Don't say a word to her. She's going to be the top scholar. If this old man messes up her chances, I'd be a disgrace to the Lin family. You should head back now. Don't let our daughter suspect anything." My mother sobbed quietly. "You can't be left alone tonight. I'll call Yan Yan in a bit and tell her we've gone to the neighboring city to stock up on goods." "Alright, that could work. Just remember to keep it together. Our daughter's sharp. Don't let her catch on." My hand froze on the doorknob. Unable to push it open any further, I covered my mouth and silently backed away. My parents didn't want me to lose focus, and I didn't want to let them down. Only one thought remained in my mind: go home. The college entrance exam I will get the best possible grades to Atone for the mistakes of my past and present life. Chu Xiao was waiting downstairs at the hospital. He looked down at me like a victor come to inspect his spoils. Lin Yen, are you ready to make a public apology now? 5. Today, we only took one of your father's hands. What happens tomorrow is anyone's guess. I stared at him, dumbfounded. Chu Xiao, what have I ever done to you to make you hate me this much? A flicker of confusion passed through his eyes before he turned his face away. Don't get the wrong idea. I wasn't the one who went after your father. I'm just giving you a friendly warning. The Jiang family is powerful. Crushing you would be as easy as stepping on an ant. Why would they need me to lift a finger? However, if you're willing to delete the video and make a public apology, I could put in a good word for you with Uncle Jiang. I didn't believe a single word of his nonsense, but he did make me realize one thing. Until the college entrance exams are over, I really shouldn't be picking a fight with these rich kids. I nodded, deleted the video right in front of him, and posted the apology statement as he demanded. Watching the barrage of insults quickly fill the screen, he smiled with satisfaction. Then he tossed a wad of cash at me. Here, use this for your father's medical bills. Next time, think before you act. Under the weight of everyone's scornful gazes, I picked up the bills one by one. Then, it was flung right into Chu Zhao's face. Get lost, Chu. Zhao's face darkened as he delivered a loaded threat. Lin Yen, don't think you're still that top student with a bright future. You'll soon find out that no one can help you except me. That very night, as I deleted the video and posted an apology, rumors began to circulate that I had bullied a female classmate, driving her into depression. Those rumors twisted the truth, were highly inflammatory, and even produced a number of so-called eyewitnesses. Overnight, I found myself trending in 5 negative hashtags, and my personal information was completely doxed. A constant barrage of abusive texts and harassing phone calls came in, almost without a moment's pause. Yet I didn't dare turn off my phone, worried that something might happen with my parents. I scrolled through the messages in a state of near numbness, my only solace being that my parents never go online. The curses and vile words wouldn't reach their ears for a while yet. The next day, as I was entering the exam hall, a classmate suddenly threw a cup of yogurt in my face. Ugh, get out of here, you bully. The sour, spoiled yogurt clung stickily to my eyelashes. Surrounded by the sound of mocking laughter, I washed my hands clean with water and calmly continued with the exam as if nothing had happened. That evening, several more negative hashtags about me trended online, directly linking me to the car accident from a few days prior. That Magotan owner is in a truly tragic state, not only paralyzed from the neck down, but also in a vegetative coma. Rumor has it that the last person he was with before the crash was a certain top student surnamed Lin. Exactly. The reason it wasn't exposed earlier was because the phone belonging to the owner, Mr. Zhang, couldn't be found. Now that it's been recovered, they say it contains chat logs between him and the top student, Lin. The rumors online sound convincing, but I know for a fact that I never had any contact with Zhang Yong. If anything, he must have plenty of chat logs with Chu Xiao and Jiang Sui. If this really blows up, those two will be the first ones in the firing line. I sneered inwardly, but still headed to the exam hall right on time. On the last day of the college entrance exams, the person who threw yogurt on me yesterday teamed up with several other classmates. The moment I walked into the classroom, they started shouting murderer. Later, when I went to the restroom, they dumped a full bin of trash all over me. Murderer, are you even fit to take the college entrance exams? You're only good for picking up toilet paper. Ha ha ha. A tall, strong girl forced my head down and shoved me into the sink. Wash away your sins, you trash. Dripping wet, I stepped out of the restroom and saw Chu Xiao at the far end of the corridor. He glanced at me, then turned and walked away. Jiang Sui deliberately hung back a step and shot me a provocative look. Already battered and bruised, I was beyond caring about any further hurt. Chu Xiao did all of this with the sole purpose of ruining my future. Then I'll be damned if I give him the satisfaction. A fire burned within me, sharpening my mind to an unusual clarity. With every answer I wrote, I was almost certain of its accuracy. Finally, I handed in my last exam paper. I let out a long, heavy sigh and called my mom. Mom, are you at the train station yet? I'm done with my exams. I'll be right there. The moment I boarded the train back to my hometown, I posted everything online, the videos I'd been hiding for days, including the audio of Chu Xiao threatening me into an apology. Premium content. 6. The only thing I posted was 4 words, the truth. The rest was all the work of netizens. Even though the Chu and Jiang families are powerful, they've already blown my story up to be the hottest topic online. The evidence is now irrefutable. no matter how hard they try to silence the truth, they can't muzzle the entire nation's netizens. The stocks of the Chu and Jiang families plummeted. Zhang Yong was placed under investigation for banned substances, which also implicated his parents. The police came to question me, and I calmly told them. That night, I did get into Zhang Yong's car. I told him I was aware of his intentions and urged him to turn back before it was too late. I managed to persuade Zhang Yong. He decided to repent and let me out of the car along the way. As for why the accident happened later, that remains a mystery. Could it be that someone wasn't happy about his change of heart? Or perhaps there was some other secret he wasn't supposed to reveal. Zhang Yong's parents project a public image as philanthropic entrepreneurs. They absolutely cannot allow the family's reputation to be tarnished. They care more about the family business than the truth behind their son's car accident. Guided by my words, they became convinced that Zhang Yong had genuinely repented and was merely framed by some mastermind behind the scenes. The Zhang and Chu Jiang families broke off relations completely after learning that Zhang Yong had been instigated by Jiang Suisui. They were especially relentless in their pursuit of the Jiang family. At this critical moment, Chu Xiao stepped forward. He sacrificed half of his family's fortune to save the Jiangs and made a heartfelt public declaration to the media. Suisui was driven to depression by Lin Yan back then and attempted suicide several times. She's the girl I've cherished since we were kids. How am I supposed to just let this go? I admit I wronged Lin Yan, but it's not like she suffered any real harm, is it? As for his parents, I've already paid 5 million in compensation, and they signed the letter of understanding. There's no need for everyone to keep harping on it. Chu Zhao's remarks disgusted a portion of netizens, yet, with the deliberate steering of online trolls, he managed to craft an image of a gloomy, obsessive, and domineering CEO for himself. It's baffling that a number of naive young girls have started defending him, envying Jiang Suisui for having such a pure, untainted love. I stared at these bewildering comments in disbelief and hung up on Chu Zhao's call. Again, ever since the day I took my parents back to our hometown, he's been harassing me every few days. Since I'm still waiting for my college entrance exam results, I haven't dared to change my number yet. I had no choice but to block him on every platform, but even that didn't work. Just now, for instance, he called me using our homeroom teacher's number. Lin Yan, don't hang up just yet. I just wanted to ask, is it really necessary to avoid me like this? Now that everything's out in the open and you've had your revenge, shouldn't we call it even? I sneered inwardly. You call this revenge? Then what does it make my 3 days and nights of pure agony? I said flatly. Chu Xiao, just say what you mean. There was a pause on the other end of the line, followed by a long sigh. Sometimes I really hate to admit it, but you do understand me. Suisui had a depressive episode because of this. I'd like you to come over, just to see her and tell her in person that it's okay. I felt like I was hearing a joke. Chu Xiao, do you think I'm an idiot? I hung up with a click and went ahead and blocked our homeroom teacher's number too. A moment later, a text from an unknown number popped up. Can't we even be friends anymore? I replied without a moment's hesitation. There can only be one kind of relationship between us, enemies. 7. After that phone call, Chu Xiao fell silent and stopped bothering me, and I successfully received my acceptance letter from the top university. Not long after, Chu Xiao and Jiang Suisui went abroad to study at the same time, even putting on a show of affection at the airport. That day, I received another anonymous text message. Suisui and I are off to the States. By the time we come back, we'll probably be getting married. We'll be sure to invite you to the wedding. Here's my number. Save it. I just clicked delete. How ridiculous. To this day, he still thinks I can't let him go. Little does he know, I wish he and Jiang Suisui would just be stuck with each other for good and stop popping up to cause trouble for innocent outsiders. Just before the new semester started, I brought my parents to the capital and rented a shop for them near the university district. My revenge against Chu Xiao was far from over. Using the 5 million he paid in compensation as seed money, I started my own business. I was well aware that, even though the Chu and Jiang families were severely weakened, with my current strength, trying to exact full revenge would be like a mantis trying to stop a chariot, so I chose to swallow my pride and step back. I plan to spend the next 5 years getting my revenge. If 5 years isn't enough, then I'll take 10. I worked hard to earn money while keeping up with my studies. I wish I could split every minute into several pieces to use, just keeping myself busy nonstop like this. The resentment in my heart gradually faded away without me even noticing, not because I forgave them but because I suddenly realized that this hard 1-second chance at life shouldn't be wasted on toxic emotions. Once I figured things out, those terrifying nightmares from my past life finally began to fade away, seeing me grow more radiant by the day. My parents' faces lit up with more and more smiles. Dad, in particular, let out a huge sigh of relief. Sweetheart, you were wound up so tight before, pushing yourself way too hard. This is how it should be. In this wide world, your own well-being comes first. My mother pinched him. How could you teach the child to swear? Looking at my energetic, spirited parents before me, I couldn't help but feel my nose sting with emotion. A wave of gratitude filled my heart, washing away the murky, bitter hatred. I occasionally checked in on news about Chu Xiao and Jiang Suisui, and was surprised to find that the decline of the Chu and Jiang families was already a foregone conclusion, even without my intervention. The Jiang family, in particular, never recovered from the blow. Chu Xiao did try to offer support a few times, but was ultimately blocked by the collective decision of the Chu family shareholders. After weighing the pros and cons, he gave up on aiding the Jiang family. He only promised to marry Jiang Suisui, ensuring she could maintain her life of luxury. After checking my account balance, I took over the remaining beauty business assets from the Jiang family following a series of bold downsizing and restructuring measures. I managed to turn this struggling beauty division around. I kept the previous manager on, and to prove her loyalty to me, she sent me a video. It was a recording of Jiang Suisui chatting with a few of her close friends on screen. She expertly blew smoke rings, a stark contrast to her usual innocent, delicate persona. Someone flattered her. Suisui really knows how to reel a man in. Look at our young master Chu. Completely wrapped around her finger, Jiang Suisui let out a scornful laugh. Men, they just love playing the hero. I wasn't actually being harassed by those thugs. I paid them to put on a show. I tricked Chu Xiao into thinking I had depression, and after a few fake suicide attempts, he was practically begging to help me take down Lin Yan. Too bad he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. He got played by that bitch Lin Yan instead. The person asked her again, "Are you two planning to get married right after graduation?" Jiang Suisui's face showed a hint of irritation. I want to drag it out a bit longer. Chu Xiao has no head for business at all. If things keep going like this, the Chu family will go bankrupt sooner or later. I heard the son from the Han family who's been studying abroad is coming back soon. I'm going to see if I can get my hooks into him. If it works out, I'll dump Chu Xiao. The video cut off abruptly, and I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I can't help but look forward to it. When Chu Xiao learns the truth, will he be as utterly devastated as I was? In my final moments last life, I've saved the video, ready to give them this special gift when Chu Xiao and Jiang Suisui get married. The 4 years of university flew by in the blink of an eye, and I had amassed a rather substantial personal fortune. After weighing the pros and cons, I've ultimately decided to hand over all my business operations to a professional agent. As for me, I'm going to continue with my postgraduate studies. To be honest, I've always preferred research over running a business, so I'm willing to earn a bit less to free up time for my true passion. The year I graduated with my bachelor's degree, my alma mater invited me back to give a speech to inspire the younger students. I happily agreed. The auditorium was packed. Dressed in a modest yet appropriate suit, I stood on the stage and spoke with ease. As my gaze swept across the audience, I unexpectedly met a pair of eyes filled with awe. It's Chu Xiao. It's been nearly 4 years. The spirited, youthful vigor he once had is almost entirely gone, replaced now by the shrewdness and mercenary air of a businessman. With Jiang Suisui not by his side, he seemed somewhat solitary and alone. After the speech ended, Chu Xiao stopped me at the door. "Long time no see," he said, not wanting to make a scene. I gave a blank nod. "Long time no see." Chu Xiao stared at me for a long time, his gaze gradually growing complicated. "Why didn't you contact me even once?" I gave a slight, wry tug at the corner of my mouth. "I don't think there's anything for us to talk about, Lin Yan. After all these years, you still haven't let it go." Chu Xiao's tone softened. "We were young back then, impulsive and prone to getting carried away by emotions. Now we're both mature adults. Shouldn't we just let bygones be bygones? After all, we did have some very happy memories when we were together." I could see clear nostalgia in his eyes. I couldn't help but find it absurd. Suppressing the annoyance in my heart, I replied calmly. "Chu Xiao, you have Jiang Suisui now, and I have a boyfriend. What's the point in bringing up the past?" His brow furrowed even deeper. "You have a boyfriend? We're still in the early stages of getting to know each other. Who is it?" Chu Xiao's tone took on a note of accusation. "You know him, the senior who was a year ahead of us, a real rising star. I heard he's back and aiming to secure that plot of land in the North District." "Sorry, You probably don't need to hear about all this. Chu Xiao took a step forward, as if he meant to grab my wrist. Just then, a sharp female voice cut through from behind. Chu Xiao, what are you doing here? Jiang Suisui strode over in her high heels, her face caked in heavy makeup that had completely erased any trace of her former innocence. She latched onto Chu Xiao's arm, her nails digging so fiercely into the fabric of his suit they nearly pierced through. Lin Yan, you spend all day seducing other women's husbands, how shameless can you be? Chu Mu frowned. Suisui, don't make a scene, I'm making a scene. Jiang Suisui's voice suddenly rose sharply, drawing sidelong glances from those around her. What were you two just talking about? Reliving your glorious past again, were you? She deliberately stressed the last 4 words, a jealous fire flickering in her eyes. Judging by her reaction, Chu Mu must bring it up quite often. It makes me feel sick to my stomach. Like I was forced to swallow a fly. Chu Xiao's face had turned grim. He lowered his voice, mind the setting. Jiang Suisui made a scene. I knew you were still thinking about her. Have you forgotten how she wronged me? You promised me you'd ruin her reputation. How could you just forget? Shut up. Seeing the irritation flash across Chu Xiao's face, I suddenly found it all rather pathetic. I turned to leave, only to hear Chu Xiao call out my name from behind. Lin Yan. I didn't look back, merely giving a dismissive wave. Best wishes for your upcoming wedding, President. Chu. 9. Jiang Suisui failed to land the heir of the Han family, so she had to pin all her hopes on Chu Xiao. They were originally set to get married at the end of the month, but with my return, Chu Xiao's resolve began to waver. Using his career as an excuse, he wanted to postpone the wedding. Jiang Suisui threw a hysterical fit and ran to the rooftop, threatening to kill herself. After all, she was the love of his life. Chu Xiao abandoned the business deal he was in the middle of and rushed over to talk her down. All that drama ultimately didn't stop their wedding from going ahead as scheduled. Jiang Suisui made a point of sending me an invitation, so I attended with my head held high. I stood in the corner, holding a champagne flute, watching coldly as Jiang Suisui clung to Chu Xiao's arm, her smile both coquettish and triumphant. Soon, her gaze swept over me. A mocking smile curled at the corner of her lips as she pulled Chu Xiao towards me. Well, if it isn't Lin Yan, she deliberately raised her voice, drawing the attention of the surrounding guests. Well, I'm surprised you showed up. I thought some people would have the sense to disappear after being rejected. Chu Xiao's brow furrowed slightly, but he didn't speak up to stop her. I swirled my glass and offered a faint smile. Congratulations on the wedding. Seeing that I wasn't provoked, Jiang Suisui's face flushed with irritation. Chu Xiao. During the speech, she picked up the microphone and said, thank you all for coming to Mr. Chu's and my wedding today. Also, I have a message for an old friend. Some people just can't see their place. They think that by being persistent and clingy, they can get what isn't meant for them. It's a shame, but a toad can't exactly set its sights on swan meat. A few low chuckles rippled through the room, followed by hushed whispers. Is Miss Jiang talking about that Lin Yan? I heard she just won't give up. Tisk, how shameless. Chu Xiao's expression grew darker and darker, yet he remained completely silent. Just then, Mrs. Jiang walked over and pointed a haughty finger at me. Ms. Lin, you can leave. Mistresses are not welcome here. I set down my wine glass, clapped my hands lightly, and my smile deepened. Well, since everyone's being so enthusiastic, I suppose even a toad like me should offer a wedding gift. The room fell silent in an instant. With every pair of eyes fixed on me, I gave a wave to the wedding MC, who responded with an okay sign. Soon, the beautiful wedding photos on the big screen were replaced by that video of Jiang Suisui. The room erupted in an uproar. Jiang Suisui let out a shriek and lunged to turn off the screen, but Chu Xiao grabbed her wrist. He stared at her, his gaze chillingly cold. Jiang Suisui, you've been lying to me all along. Panic seized Jiang Suisui. Chu Xiao, let me explain, it's fake. She fabricated this to frame me. I let out a soft chuckle and spoke in a measured tone. Don't be impatient. There's a second gift, Mr. Chu, that plot of land in the North District, the one you outbid everyone for at a high price. Remember it? Last time, I deliberately leaked that information, betting that his jealousy would drive him to find a way to acquire that land. What a shame, that land isn't part of the new district plan. It's actually slated by the government to become a cemetery. The Chu group bankrupted themselves to buy a graveyard. Ha, good for them. At least they won't have to worry about burial plots for the family. A dead silence fell over the room. Chu Xiao's face instantly turned ashen. Lin Yan, he said, do you really hate me that much? I smiled faintly. I won't hold a grudge anymore. When a wall is about to fall, everyone gives it a push. I don't need to lift a finger. Others will make sure you learn what it truly means to fall from the clouds into the mud. With that, I turned and walked away. Behind me, Jiang Suisui's shriek and Chu Zhao's suppressed roar of anger erupted, throwing the guests into chaos. 10 after I left, they managed to put on quite a spectacle. Rumor has it that Chu Xiao tried to give her away to his septuagenarian granduncle. Jiang Suisui went berserk and smashed a champagne bottle over Chu Zhao's head. One ended up in the hospital for emergency treatment, the other in a detention cell. Just when I thought the whole farce was finally over and I was about to set off for the capital, word suddenly came from the police station that Chu Xiao had bailed Jiang Suisui out and left with her. The rumor going around our circle is that Chu Zhao's love for Jiang Suisui is the real deal. He never gave up on her, even after being played. An old classmate sent me a WeChat message, telling me to look on the bright side. I accepted their kindness and got into a taxi headed for the airport. Soon, I would be free of the city, and of Chu Xiao, for good. However, the car screeched to a sudden halt, and my forehead slammed hard into the back of the front seat. Before I could even react, the car door was wrenched open. A hand in a black leather glove shot inside and clamped around my wrist. The next instant, a chemical-soaked cloth was pressed over my mouth and nose. A pungent odor flooded my senses, and my consciousness rapidly faded. My last memory is of him pulling me into his embrace, whispering softly, "This time, I won't let you get away." When I woke again, I was lying in a soft bed. The sound of waves crashing against the shore drifting in through the window. I bolted upright, looking around. I knew this beach house all too well. Back in high school, I used to tutor Chu Xiao here. He would always lounge on the desk, watching me with a lazy smile, a spirited young man, his eyes brimming with mirth. But now, everything has changed. The door swung open, and Chu Xiao walked in, holding a cup of warm milk. "Awake, want something to drink?" I let out a cold laugh and knocked the cup away with a swipe of my hand. "What do you really want?" He stared at the spilled milk on the floor, fell silent for a moment, then suddenly dropped to one knee and reached out to grasp my ankle. I instinctively tried to pull my foot back, but his grip was firm. Chu Xiao looked up, his eyes churning with agony and obsession. "I remember now, all of it." My heart skipped a beat. "What? Our past life?" His voice was terrifyingly hoarse. "I remember how you died. I remember how much I've regretted it." A chill ran through my entire body, my nails digging deep into my palms. But Chu Xiao kept talking, his words spilling out. I had no idea they would go that far. I regretted it the moment I ended the video call. I tried to call them off, but they wouldn't pick up. By the time I got there, you were already. He gripped my ankle with a white-knuckled desperation, as if clinging to it could anchor him to something. "After you died, I lost my mind. I wandered through the days and a days, and within a week, I was in a car accident." I took a deep breath, forcing the surging emotions back down. "So, are you trying to make amends now? Or are you planning to kill me again?" He shot to his feet and pulled me into his arms. "No, I want you to stay by my side, forever." I shoved him away with force and sneered, "Chu Xiao, stop lying to yourself. Come with me. I want to show you something." He cut me off, grabbing my wrist and pulling me outside. I struggled, but it was useless. He forced me down to the basement. As the door swung open, the thick, metallic scent of blood hit me. My pupils contracted sharply. Jiang Suisui was chained to the corner, covered in blood and barely clinging to life. A Tibetan mastiff crouched at her feet, panting heavily. I couldn't stop my body from trembling, my lips turning pale. "Don't be afraid, Yen Yen, it's all right." Seeing my fear, Chu Xiao quickly locked the dog in the iron cage. "Every bit of suffering you endured in your past life, I've made her taste it all, but her life is cheap. She's still clinging on even after all that. Fine, I'll save my last breath for Yen Yen to vent on." My stomach churned violently, and I nearly vomited. "You're insane." I stumbled backward, trembling. "You're out of your mind." He closed in step by step, backing me into a corner, his hand cupping my face. "Let's start over, okay?" I closed my eyes for a moment, then suddenly smiled. "All right." He froze, his eyes blazing with ecstasy. The next second, I pulled the syringe I'd prepared from my pocket and plunged it hard into his neck. Chu Xiao grunted, staggering backward, his eyes wide with disbelief. I looked at him coldly. "The moment you took Jiang Suisui away, I knew you'd try something. After all, let's be honest, you only truly care about yourself. That's why I prepared this injection in advance. The dosage is enough to keep you out for a full day." He reached out to grab me, but his body went limp, and he collapsed heavily to his knees. "Yen Yen." He lifted his head with difficulty, his eyes full of pleading, "Don't go." I didn't answer, turning instead to push the door open. A sea breeze met me, carrying the scent of salt and damp in the distance. The morning sun was rising from the horizon, shimmering with golden light. The end. Story 2. On the big screen at my wedding, my bridal portrait was replaced with my husband's assistant's prenatal checkup form in the field for the father's name. My husband's name was shockingly written. The young assistant apologized to me, flustered and full of remorse, while my husband offered an explanation as if nothing was wrong. She's in a pitiful situation, pregnant before marriage, so I accompanied her to the prenatal checkup and put my name down. In the future, I'll be the godfather to the child she's carrying. The day of Ku's assistant's pregnancy checkup was also the day of my first prenatal appointment. The guests expected me to fly into a jealous rage, but I just tore off my veil and booked an abortion appointment instead. It's truly pitiful that she's pregnant out of wedlock with no husband. This wedding should be hers. Then, I raised my glass and toasted him. Congratulations on your wedding, a shotgun wedding, I see. Hello everyone, and welcome to Takata Novel Society. Today, I'm sharing a fun new story with you all. I stood on the wedding stage in my bridal gown and bowed to the assembled guests. Thank you, dear friends and family, for attending my wedding banquet. Unfortunately, there's been a slight change of plans today. The bride has been switched at the last minute from Su Jiji to Jiang Yiyao. Once again, I'm sorry, and thank you. Please, everyone, enjoy the food and drinks. A deathly silence fell over the room. Gu Yan'an's face darkened as he snatched the wine glass from my hand. Jiji, what nonsense are you talking? This is our wedding day. What just happened was merely an accident. I stared into his eyes, suppressing the turbulent pain churning in my heart, and spoke in a hoarse voice. Gu Yan'an, your assistant has worked for you for 7 years. She's always been so meticulous, yet at such an important occasion, she replaced our wedding photos with her child's report card. Do you really think that was just a simple mistake? He was uncharacteristically silent. I know he's not stupid. He must have seen that Jiang Yiyao was provoking me, yet, at our wedding, he didn't stand up for his wife. He chose to defend her instead. Even in my pain, I would never compromise my dignity just to go through with this wedding with him. Gu Yan'an, I want to break up. Gu Yan'an was stunned, unable to believe it. Su Jiji, I just accompanied Yao to a prenatal checkup, and you want to break up with me over such a trivial thing? Since when have you become so petty and unreasonable? He grew angrier as he spoke, his brow furrowed tightly. Besides, we've been together for 7 years, we've faced so many hardships and difficulties, and you're carrying our child. How can you possibly break up with me? Jiang Yiyao finally spoke, reaching out to take his hand. Mr. Gu, please don't be angry, this is all my fault. I'm the one who upset Miss Su. She definitely didn't mean to break up with you in such a setting and cause you embarrassment. But Miss Su, many of the company's business partners are here at the wedding. Even if you don't care about all Mr. Gu has done for you, you shouldn't choose this moment to end things. Hearing this, Gu Yan'an's face darkened further. He stared fixedly at me, and seeing I had no intention of backing down, he spoke in a low, heavy voice. I know you're upset, but there are too many business partners from the company here today. I'll make an excuse for you, and Yao will help see the wedding through. Go home, calm down, and get some rest. Don't be childish about this. He reached out and smoothed the stray hairs at my temple. Jiji, breaking up is not an option. You'll always be mine. Jiang Yiyao hooked her arm through Gu Yan'an's and looked at me, a mocking smile curling at the corner of her lips. They went about toasting the guests as if nothing had happened. I placed a hand on my pregnant belly, looked over every detail of the wedding I had managed, everything I had arranged, even the groom was a man I had molded, and with a mocking smile, I walked toward the backstage. My best friend Xiaoya, in her bridesmaid dress, froze when she saw me and quickly hung up the phone. Is it time to bring the rings? She runs a startup and is swamped with work, so I had her wait for me backstage, just to help with delivering the rings. When the time came, seeing the tension in her eyes, I reached out my hand to her. Don't bother with the rings, just take me home. On the way, Xiaoya learned everything and was so furious she wanted to turn back and wreck Gu Yan'an's wedding, but I stopped her. After 7 years together, I still wanted to end things with some dignity. Xiaoya's heart ached for me, fueling her anger even more. When Gu Yan'an proposed, he clearly promised to give you the best of everything, to love you, care for you, and protect you for the rest of his life, and now he's teaming up with another woman to bully you. He'll get what's coming to him. A sharp pain pierced my heart, and my face finally paled uncontrollably, yet I couldn't utter a single word. I am an orphan, and I have been with Gu Yenin for 7 years. I've been with him since I was 18. He said there were many people richer and more powerful than him, but no one could ever bully me, unless he was dead at 22. After graduating from university, he said his company wasn't fully stable yet and he couldn't give me a wedding. He begged me to wait a little longer, promising he would achieve success as quickly as possible and marry me at 25. He had achieved success and his company was about to go public. He knelt down and proposed to me, his face beaming with more excitement than I had ever seen. Gigi, he said, thank you for sticking by me through the hard times. Will you marry me? I promise I will never let you suffer again, and I will absolutely never let our children suffer either. When he proposed, I was moved to tears. Today, here I am, wearing my wedding dress, carrying his child, yet walking away alone into the cold wind, filled with desolation. The sweet memories of the past are like a poison that eats away at my heart, a constant, agonizing sting, yet, I am eerily calm. I know there's no going back for him and me. The abortion procedure is scheduled for tomorrow. I went home, did nothing, said my goodbyes to the child, and forced myself to sleep. In my sleep, I felt someone take hold of my slightly swollen ankle, kneading it with practiced, gentle motions. When I opened my eyes, I saw Gu Yenin, reeking of alcohol, kneeling on one knee at the foot of the bed. He was holding massage oil, gently working on my feet as he always did. Seeing I was awake, he came to my side, his face full of remorse, leaned down, and whispered an apology in my ear. I'm sorry, baby, the problems with today's wedding are my fault. It was my lax oversight that led to such a big mistake. To avoid losing face in front of our business partners, I had Jiang Yao help me play along with the charade. I know it was awful. I'm sorry. I know you put so much into this wedding, poured your heart and soul into it, but please don't be sad. I promise I'll make it up to you with an even bigger, better wedding later. Okay. My expression remained blank, and I said nothing. He suddenly panicked. Are you still upset about Jiang Yao? I swear, there's nothing between us. She's pregnant and unmarried, with no one to look after her, so I just accompanied her to the prenatal checkup. Gigi, you're a mother now. Please don't get so worked up. Okay, it could hurt the baby. Looking at the concern that seemed to brim in the man's eyes, I gave a faint smile. So, you do remember we have a child? What kind of thing is that to say? Of course I remember, he said, pulling out a jade-style brooch and handing it to me. Look, I picked this out for you specially after the wedding. It's shaped like a peanut, with a little green jade inside. It's just like us and our unborn baby. Isn't it lovely? Gigi, you and our baby are the most precious people in my world. There's no one else. He coaxed me with sweet nothings that sounded so sincere. He truly did care about the child, apart from being too busy to accompany me to prenatal checkups. He handled everything else personally and kept up with the checkup results in real time. I could feel his concern, but I was even more aware of the importance he placed on Jiang Yao. I didn't move a muscle. So, have you thought about what I said, about us breaking up? That one sentence seemed to flip a switch in him. His entire expression darkened instantly. What are you trying to say? I've already bought you a gift and apologized sincerely. Are you really going to keep harping on this little thing from today? I gave a cold, indifferent nod. His face, already scowling, darkened further. Gigi, I've been more than lenient with you. Don't threaten me with this. You're carrying my child. Even if you break up with me, what other man would dare take you? Even if you don't think about yourself, think about the child in your womb. You wouldn't want our baby to be born without a father, would you? The next second, his phone lit up, and a message from Jiang Yao quickly popped up on the screen. Mr. Gu, I'm at home and not feeling well. Could you come over right now? Seeing that I had noticed the message, he began to explain, his tone a mix of nervousness and defensiveness. She's been running herself ragged for your wedding this year. She lives alone and is pregnant. I need to go check on her to make sure she's alright. You should stay here and cool off. With that, he hurriedly left the house, his steps betraying a hint of panic. Perhaps he was afraid I'd bring up breaking up again, or perhaps he was worried about Jiang Yao's condition. Whatever the reason, he left decisively, without a moment's hesitation. Any thought of sleep vanished from my mind. Just as I was about to start packing my bags, a text message popped up on my phone. So what if you can marry Mr. Gu? My child is who he truly cares about. I can outshine you now, and in the future, my child will outshine yours. Miss Su, care to guess whose child will be born first, yours or mine? Which child do you think Mr. Gu will love more? I stared at the text message, my hand clenching tightly. In the end, I blocked the number, took a screenshot, and sent it to Gu Yenin. The abortion procedure was scheduled for the morning, and the surgery went smoothly. The child I had longed for, from the moment I joyfully learned of its existence to the moment I lost it completely, was with me for barely over a month. The pain was unbearable. Worse than every time I saw Jiang Yao overstep her bounds and lean into Gu Yenin, worse than every time I saw him lean towards her in return. I forced my weak body to move, clutching the hospital report as I walked out. Just then, I saw Gu Yenin helping Jiang Yao walk out of the obstetrics and gynecology department. The two of them were talking and laughing, looking for all the world like a real married couple. Jiang Yao spotted me with sharp eyes. She first shot me a provocative, triumphant smile, then pretended to fluster as she let go of Gu Yenin's hand. She called out weakly in my direction, "Sister Gigi." Hearing my name, Gu Yenin suddenly looked up and hastily released the hand that was supporting Jiang Yao. "She had a stomachache yesterday, and it's all because of our wedding preparations. I'm just here to accompany her for a prenatal checkup. Please don't misunderstand." I took a look at Jiang Yao's face, which was glowing with a healthy flush, and it didn't seem like she was suffering from any severe abdominal pain at all. Then, seeing how anxiously Gu Yenin was watching over her, I wondered if he had even seen the message I sent him, but given the current situation, whether he had or not was irrelevant. "Mr. Gu, your company's benefits are truly impressive." The boss even personally accompanies his assistant to the hospital for her prenatal checkups. Jiang Yao hurried over and grabbed my wrist. "Gigi, please don't misunderstand. It's all my fault. Last night, my stomach was hurting, and I didn't know anyone else at the company, so I had to beg Mr. Gu to take me to the hospital for a checkup." Before she could finish, she grabbed my arm for leverage and suddenly threw herself backward. Her stomach slammed hard against the floor, and she writhed in agony on the ground. "Yao." Gu Yenin's expression changed instantly. He shoved me aside and rushed to help Jiang Yao up, his voice furious. "Su Gigi, take your anger out on me if you must, but how dare you push her away? She's pregnant, just like you. What if something had happened to her?" With tears welling in her eyes, Jiang Yao began to speak up for me. "Mr. Gu, please don't blame Sister Gigi. It was my own fault for not keeping my balance. It's all on me. I should have kept my distance from her." The more she explained, the darker Gu Yenin's expression became. "Su Gigi, apologize. She faked the fall herself," I explained after regaining my balance. Nearly knocked to the ground by his shove, the pain from my recent miscarriage was excruciating. I never laid a finger on her. It was all an act she put on herself. "How can you expect me to apologize for that?" Gu Yenin gritted his teeth. "Are you suggesting she would risk her own unborn child's life just to spread lies about you? You're a mother yourself. Do you really think that's possible?" I watched him defend another woman and fell silent for a moment. "Why should I listen to you? I already broke up with you last night." I was immensely relieved that we hadn't gotten our marriage certificate yet, that we hadn't reached the point of discussing divorce. Gu Yenin's face instantly darkened, his anger flaring even hotter than before. "Su Gigi, you're the one who messed up, not me. What gives you the right to break up? Let me make this clear. You're going to handle every single thing, big or small, for Jiang Yao at the hospital today. That girl, what's her name? Xiaoye, she's running a startup. As her friend, you wouldn't want to see all the money she's poured into it go down the drain, would you?" I was incredulous. "Are you threatening me?" His face darkened. "Gigi, you threatened me first. Besides, I've been supporting you all these years. Everything you have is from me. I decide when this ends, not you." It felt like my heart was being pierced by countless fine needles, each stab sharp and relentless. I only quit my job because he insisted I stay home to focus on getting pregnant. He supported me for 1 year, and now I can't even suggest breaking up. On top of that, he expects me to help his mistress and her bastard child settle in. How laughable, and utterly humiliating. I clenched the miscarriage report in my hand, meeting Gu Yenin's icy gaze. "Fine." Jiang Yao shot me a provocative look and said hesitantly, "Sister Gigi is pregnant. Running around like this all day will wear her out. Don't worry, my child is fine. A single day of work won't hurt her." He shoved all of Jiang Yao's required tests at me, ordering me to register and collect the reports. He glared coldly and said, "Not a single one of her tests can be missed." Without a word, I rushed between various departments. Having just had an abortion, my body couldn't handle the strain. Even a few extra steps sent sharp pains through me, a pain worse than the surgery itself. By evening, I had finally completed all of Jiang Yao's admission paperwork. I shoved the stack of forms at Gu Yenin, drenched in cold sweat, and collapsed into a nearby chair. Someone nearby gasped in horror. Blood, oh my God. She's bleeding so much. All eyes turned toward me. In a daze, I looked down. A warm sensation flowed down from the base of my thigh, instantly staining my pants a deep crimson. It was a massive hemorrhage from a miscarriage. The next second, abdominal pain hit me like a tidal wave. A profound sense of weightlessness engulfed me. Before I blacked out, I saw the look of utter terror on Gu Yan'an's face. Gigi, too, the doctor who performed my surgery, was called in for emergency care. Seeing the scene, he flew into a rage. What the hell kind of man are you? Miss Su just had an abortion surgery. She absolutely cannot engage in strenuous activity. Do you understand? Is this how you torment her? Gu Yan'an stared blankly at the blood on the floor, the doctor's accusatory voice ringing in his ears. He stood there frozen, unable to snap out of it for a long time. He seemed to have suffered a tremendous blow, his hands trembling slightly, utterly flustered. Impossible. Our baby was perfectly fine last night. How could this be? How could she bear to get rid of it? After 5 hours of intense resuscitation efforts, as the doctors wheeled me out on the gurney, someone rushed towards us. It was Gu Yan'an. His face was a mask of fury and confusion, pale with a sickly pallor, his whole demeanor unsettling. I had never seen him like this before. Gu Yan'an slowly approached me, firmly pressed down on my gurney, and glared at me with eyes wide with fury. Su Gigi, how dare you? What? Just coming out of the anesthesia, my mind was a muddled mess, and I couldn't quite grasp what he was saying. His eyes were bloodshot, fixed on me with an intense stare before shifting to my flat stomach. How dare you get rid of our child? How could you? Our child? It took me a moment to process what he was saying. It's as if he's talking about the child I lost. It's so strange. When I needed him most, he was busy taking care of another woman and the child she's carrying. When I was at my weakest, he didn't even notice. He still expected me to run around, showing not a shred of tenderness. And now, what is he crying about? A single tear traced a path down my cheek. I struggled to speak, explaining with difficulty. The baby is gone, you're free now, and so am I. Gu Yan'an's emotions spiraled out of control, his voice rising to a raw, desperate shout. Su Gigi, what gives you the right? What gives you the right to get rid of our child? Is he yours alone? Seeing him so utterly broken, I felt only a quiet calm within. I spoke, not understanding his reaction. I've already decided to break up with you. Why on earth would I keep the child? Gu Yan'an froze, his expression stiffening as he stood there, completely speechless. I was wheeled back to the hospital room, and Gu Yan'an followed me in. He just stood there quietly. We locked eyes for a long moment, neither of us saying a word. After a pause, Gu Yan'an spoke in a cold voice. I know you're furious about what happened at the wedding, but I truly didn't mean for it to happen. I wanted to give you the best wedding in the world. I know you're still upset, but don't worry, I'll make it up to you with an even grander wedding. We'll have a new child. As he said this, he glanced at my abdomen. Unmistakable fury burned in his eyes, and his entire face seemed to flush with it, the rims of his eyes turning red. I looked into his eyes and spoke with solemn honesty. Never again. Gu Yan'an, are you deaf? There's no future for us. As if trying to escape, Gu Yan'an fumbled for his phone, glanced at it in a panic, and rushed out the door. Before leaving, he threw out one last line. Don't overthink it, we can still make this work. I watched his figure recede into the distance. I nodded and murmured to myself, there is no us anymore. I spent 3 days in the hospital, gradually regaining my health. The day for me to finalize my departure abroad was drawing closer. Perhaps Gu Yan'an was afraid I'd utter the word breakup again. He'd been making himself scarce lately, only sending his assistant to deliver the healthy meals he'd prepared himself. The excuse was the same as always, too busy with work, meetings, and overtime. But now, I simply don't care anymore. My best friend and I started preparing for our study abroad program. Tomorrow, I will leave this place I've called home for over 20 years for good. I never thought my last night here would be spent in a hospital in the dead of night. The hospital room door opened quietly. Gu Yan'an came to my bedside, looking down at me with my eyes tightly shut. His voice carried a faint trace of apology. Gigi, I'm sorry. He just stood there in silence, hoping I would wake up and give him a response. I hadn't intended to pretend to be asleep. I opened my eyes and looked at him. There's nothing to be sorry for. It's all in the past now. Yes, it's all in the past now. He thought I had forgiven him, his voice trembling with joy. Gigi, I'll make it up to you. He wanted to say more. I curved my lips into a faint smile, cutting him off with a gentle voice. Gu Yan'an, I'm tired. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Then I'll stay here in the hospital room with you. I'd like to be alone. You should go and get some rest. He stared at me intently for a long moment, only relaxing completely when he could detect no trace of anything unusual on my face. Gu Yan'an crouched by my hospital bed, took my hand, and said, "Gigi, I love you. I'll be back first thing in the morning to be with you." With that, he gently ruffled my hair and turned to leave, visibly reluctant to go. The moment he left, the smile vanished from my face. I pulled out the suitcase hidden under the bed, grabbed my plane ticket, and rushed to check myself out of the hospital. At the crack of dawn, I boarded the plane. Just before takeoff, I received a message from Gu Yan'an. "Gigi, I made you shrimp wontons this morning." I didn't reply. Instead, I deactivated all my contact information and removed the SIM card from my phone. Takeoff. Flying towards an unfamiliar country, Gu Yan'an was somewhat distracted. While helping me prepare breakfast, he remembered the look in my eyes that night. Even though my tone was gentle, my gaze towards him was indifferent, devoid of any extra emotion. A sense of foreboding instantly arose in Gu Yan'an's heart, and he began to grow restless. He kept glancing at his phone while wrapping wontons, muttering, "Are they still not awake?" He simply couldn't hold back any longer. He was all set to send me a photo, only to be met with a big red exclamation mark. He'd been blocked. He completely panicked. I rushed to the hospital, only to find the room that should have been occupied completely empty. As soon as I reached the doorway, even the bedding on the bed was neatly folded. In a panic, he grabbed the nurse who was making her rounds nearby. "Where's the patient from this room?" The nurse glanced at her chart. "They were discharged last night." The words that followed became a distant blur. Gu Yan'an's expression froze on his face, as every terrible suspicion in his mind was confirmed in that moment. He kept calling my number, over and over again. He still refused to believe I would abandon all those years we had together. Impossible, absolutely impossible. She said she'd love me forever. How could she leave me? Talking about a breakup was just her being angry, that's all. She would never leave me. Yet no matter how many times he called, only a cold, automated voice answered from the other end of the line. "We're sorry, the number you have dialed cannot be reached at the moment. Please try your call again later." Each successive blow felt like an invisible hand tightening its grip around Gu Yan'an's heart, leaving him gasping for air. Numb and desperate, he kept trying every possible way to reach me. He wanted to find any trace of me, but came up empty. He simply couldn't understand why I would just leave him like that, for no reason at all. He slumped to the floor, weeping into his hands like a helpless child. This time, he had completely broken down. The next second, Gu Yan'an wanted to contact his assistant to find out where I had gone, but before he could even dial, his assistant Jiang Yiyao's call came through on the other end of the line. Jiang Yiyao's voice was a pained, plaintive whimper. "Mr. Gu, my stomach suddenly hurts so much. Could you please take me to the hospital right now?" "Get lost." Hearing that sickly sweet, affected voice, he hung up the phone without a moment's hesitation. He started looking into where I had gone on his own. Suddenly, as if struck by a thought, Gu Yan'an shot to his feet and immediately rushed towards the hospital room where my best friend's mother was. He knew she was my only childhood friend. Even if I abandoned him, I would never abandon my best friend. But when he actually arrived at the hospital room, he found my best friend packing her things to leave. He asked my best friend where I had gone. This woman's lips are sealed tighter than a vault at a top-secret agency. He even tried to threaten my best friend by withholding medical resources, but she just looked at him coldly and said, "Do you really think my mother and I would betray Su Gigi over something like this?" "Gu Yan'an, I appreciate the medical resources you provided for my mother before, but let me make this clear, we can get treatment anywhere. You can't blackmail me with this." Seeing the woman's resolute expression before him, Gu Yan'an finally understood, with absolute certainty, that I was truly leaving him. He was utterly panicked. "Even if she wants to break up with me, she should at least take the money. Tell her to contact me. We need to divide our shared assets. She's had little money of her own all these years. How is she supposed to get by from now on?" My best friend had already seen right through the man's intentions. He was just using the excuse of dividing assets to see me one more time. "Gu Yan'an, aren't you a successful man? Aren't you always so busy with work? Do you remember the woman who stood by your side when you had nothing, who drank herself sick at business dinners to help you land deals? Do you remember the woman who, pregnant and because you were too busy, handled every single detail of the wedding preparations herself? Su Gigi, going to all those prenatal checkups alone, time and again. Do you have any idea what people are saying about her? They call her an unwed mother. Say she's carrying a bastard child, yet, for your sake, she's endured All this humiliation alone, and what about you, CEO Gu, accompanying your little assistant to her checkups, playing godfather, ruining her wedding day? Gu Yan'an listened with a vacant stare, as if his very soul had been hollowed out. He had always thought Su Zhizhi was just throwing a minor tantrum, that he could simply coax her and they'd be back to how they were. That's what he had always believed. Gu Yan'an, like a drowning man, grabbed my best friend's wrist. I want to see her, can you? Please tell me where she really went. My best friend just said coldly, men like you, who only appreciate what they've lost, are the most disgusting. She ignored him completely and left the hospital with her mother. Gu Yan'an spent the entire day searching for me like this, even alerting the police, yet he still couldn't find a single trace of me. In the early hours of the morning, Gu Yan'an returned home, utterly dejected. As he approached home, he saw the lights on from a distance, and a flicker of hope instantly flashed in his eyes. He opened the door with eager anticipation, saying, Zhizhi, I knew you wouldn't abandon me. The moment he saw Jiang Yiyao, his face instantly turned ashen. What are you doing in my house? Jiang Yiyao had prepared a table full of dishes. With a smile, she said, I heard Sister Zhizhi left. President Gu, you must be busy and haven't eaten all day, so I came over specially to make some of your favorite dishes. Before she could finish, Gu Yan'an strode over and seized her by the throat. His voice was low and dangerous. Didn't you hear me? I'm asking you, why are you in my house? Jiang Yiyao's legs went weak from the sheer malice in Gu Yan'an's expression, but she still managed to force a placating smile. I only learned your home's passcode when I was helping you with the documents before. I just wanted to do a good deed. It would have been better if she hadn't said that. Her words only made Gu Yan'an's expression darken further. It was precisely because this woman kept playing the victim, over and over, that he ended up neglecting his own partner's feelings and state of mind. He admitted that, at first, he genuinely believed he was just doing a good deed, but gradually, he began to relish the way this woman looked up to him. At this thought, the man's grip tightened for a moment before his hand went limp and fell away. Jiang Yiyao, believing the man before her had developed genuine feelings, felt her eyes well up instantly. Mr. Gu, I knew you wouldn't truly hurt me. You're fired. Never show your face in front of me again. There wasn't a trace of pity in Gu Yan'an's eyes, only disgust, though it was impossible to tell whether that profound disgust was directed at Jiang Yiyao or at himself. I'm pregnant. It's so late, and there are absolutely no cabs around. It's dangerous for me to go out alone. Gu Yan'an paid no attention to what Jiang Yiyao was saying and simply pushed her out the door, because the more she spoke, the more Gu Yan'an was reminded of Su Zhizhi, who had gone to all her prenatal checkups alone and handled all the wedding preparations by herself. His heart was filled with nothing but endless regret and grief for arriving in a foreign country. I found everything quite unfamiliar. Fortunately, there are many kind and helpful people in this world, and technology is advanced. With the help of a translation app and some passers-by, I managed to rent an apartment and start my new life. I was a top graduate in engineering design in university. Back then, I gave up a state-sponsored postgraduate placement to be with Gu Yan'an. After all that wandering, I still ended up embarking on my academic journey. Life went on in its quiet, uneventful way. I never thought I'd see him again. At a design exchange seminar one day, Gu Yan'an stood in the crowd, his eyes fixed intently on me, filled with utter disbelief. The moment he saw me, he rushed forward and embraced me right in front of everyone. Disregarding all else, he clung to me like a pitiful, abandoned dog, pleading for my forgiveness. I pushed him away coolly. Mr. Gu, please keep your distance. Faced with my cold and distant demeanor, he seemed utterly stunned. Throughout the entire seminar, his dark eyes were fixed intently on me, as if terrified I might vanish completely the very next second. After the seminar ended, he grabbed my wrist directly and said in a sullen tone, Zhizhi, I was wrong. Can you forgive me? Jiang Yiyao has already left the company. We can have a fresh start. You once said you would love me forever and never leave me. I couldn't help but let out a scornful laugh. We're over, Mr. Gu. There's nothing between us anymore. I expect you to show at least a basic level of courtesy and respect. Hearing my words, he completely lost control of his emotions. I was just trying to do a good thing. Why won't you forgive me? I know I handled it poorly, but I didn't actually cheat on you. I just watched him quietly until his gaze began to shift away in panic. Gu Yan'an, when will you understand? An emotional affair is still an affair. The moment you used being busy as an excuse to spend time with another woman, you had already betrayed what we had. Is there really no way back from this? Gu Yenan looked at me quietly, his eyes rimmed with red. He was the one who betrayed this relationship and put me through so much pain, yet at this very moment, the look in Gu Yenan's eyes was one of profound sorrow. As if he was about to lose his entire world. I didn't answer his question. After all, we're all adults. Sometimes, no answer is the best answer. He looked at me, utterly dejected, and said, I understand. And so, Gu Yenan left alone. He never bothered me again after that, though I would often spot him at various designer seminars. He would just stand there in the distance, watching my every move. Even without direct interference, it still caused me no small amount of unease. I managed to get him to meet me, ready to lay all our unresolved emotional issues on the table and settle them once and for all. Sitting across from each other in the cafe, I looked him in the eye and stated my case directly. Gu Yenan, I don't regret giving up all my dreams to be with you for those years, just as I don't regret leaving you now to pursue them. I hope that the Gu Yenan in my memory can give what we had a proper, dignified ending. He took a sip of his coffee. Gigi, I admit, I did enjoy the feeling of being admired by others before, but I never once thought of letting any other woman take your place in my heart. All these years, your love for me made me overlook your needs, even the wedding you wanted. I cut him off before he could say another word. It doesn't matter anymore, it's all in the past. Gu Yenan was a smart man. He understood what I was saying, and he understood I was saying goodbye. After that day, he vanished completely from my world, and the work I had painstakingly designed for years finally shone on the international stage. After becoming a renowned design master, I didn't get lost in fame and fortune. Instead, I shouldered my backpack once more and embarked on my journey around the world. The best designs always come from life itself, and there is still so much of the world I have yet to see. I left all the past behind me. The path ahead is the only direction I should move in. As for the relationship between Gu Yenan and me, it was once sincere and beautiful, a precious memory forever preserved in the heart of the 20-year-old Su Gigi. The end. That's the end of the first story. I hope you enjoyed it. The next one will be even more thrilling, so let's keep reading together. When I pushed open the hotel room door, Lu Shizhou had the woman pinned against the floor-to-ceiling window. His expensive suit jacket lay discarded on the cream-colored carpet, his shirt unbuttoned down to his waist. The woman in his arms, wearing a silk slip dress, had her back to me, her slender, pale arms wrapped tightly around his neck. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling window, the city's glittering lights framed their entangled silhouettes. Like a lewd poster meticulously composed, I was still holding the takeout bag with the crab roe noodles he'd been craving for a week. The warmth of the broth seeped through the paper, scalding my fingertips. The air was thick with perfume and another scent, a cloying, distinctly carnal musk. My stomach lurched violently. Lu Shizhou heard the noise and turned his head impatiently. The moment he saw me, the haze of desire in his eyes receded like a tide, leaving behind only a cold shock, followed by undisguised annoyance. Shen Jiwei, how did you find this place? His voice was hoarse and displeased from the interrupted intimacy, and he couldn't even be bothered to push the person in his arms away. The woman also turned her head, revealing a young, meticulously crafted face that held a hint of alarm, but more so, defiance. She snuggled deeper into Lu Shizhou's embrace and asked in a coquettish voice, Shizhou, who is she? Lu Shizhou let out a derisive snort, his large hand patting the woman's back in a placating gesture, while his eyes raked over me like a blade. Someone unimportant. The bag of crab roe noodles hit the floor with a wet slap. Greasy broth splattered across the expensive carpet. Someone who doesn't matter. I've been married to him for 5 years. I was with him when he had nothing, and now he's worth billions. I lived with him in a basement, ate the cheapest boxed meals, and when creditors came pounding on our door during his startup days, it was me, 7 months pregnant, who stood in front of him. I was nearly knocked over and lost the baby. That child, the one who wasn't meant to be, is gone, and my health went with him. Back then, he held me in his arms, crying like a child, and swore he would never let me down in this lifetime. Now, he's holding another woman, saying I'm nobody important. It felt like a cold hand had seized my heart, squeezing it tight before violently tearing it apart. The pain was so intense I could barely breathe, my vision blurring. But I didn't cry. Not a single tear. Strangely, in that very moment, looking at his face, once the object of my obsession, now etched with callous indifference, all that heart-wrenching agony was suddenly replaced by something sharper, something colder. It's disgusting, Lu Shizhou. My voice was unexpectedly calm, without even a hint of a tremor. I want a divorce. Lu Shizhou looked as if he had just heard the most ridiculous joke, He released the woman in his arms, slowly fastened the buttons on his shirt, and walked towards me step by step, his presence suffocating. Divorce. He looked down at me from his superior position, a mocking smile playing on his lips. Shin Ji-wei, get your head straight. What would you live on without me? That pathetic salary of yours, or your mother, the one still farming back in the village. He reached out to grab my chin, but I jerked my head away to dodge him. His eyes darkened with menace. Don't push your luck, go back and stay put. I'll pretend today never happened. You're still Mrs. Liu, and you'll get everything that's coming to you. As for her, he said with a dismissive glance at the woman behind him, his tone flippant, it was just a bit of fun, no need to take it so seriously. The woman immediately pouted and feigned hurt. I looked at Lu Shizhou. At this face that was both familiar and a stranger's, 5 years of marriage, I gave him my heart and soul. And all I got in return was his casual betrayal and condescending pity. My stomach churned violently, and I fought back the urge to vomit. Lu Shizhou, I stared into his eyes, enunciating every word, you make me sick. His face instantly turned ashen. I stopped looking at him, my gaze swept past the woman huddled by the window, her face a mask of schadenfreude, and finally settled on the crab roe noodles spilled on the floor. The noodles are ruined, let the dogs have them. I turned and walked away without a single backward glance at that wretched pair. The door closed with a soft click, yet it landed like a sledgehammer, shattering every last delusion I had clung to for the past 5 years. Outside the hotel, the deep autumn wind cut into my face like a knife. I pulled out my phone, my fingers icy cold, and dialed Lin Wanzhou's number. The call was answered almost instantly. Hello, Ji-wei, what's wrong? It's so late. Lin Wanzhou's voice was thick with sleep. Wanzhou. I took a deep breath, the frigid air filling my lungs and sharpening my focus instead. I need a favor, go ahead. Her voice was instantly alert. Find me a reliable private investigator, the most discreet and capable kind. Money is no object. There was a 2-second silence on the other end of the line, followed by Lin Wanzhou's signature, piercing soprano. Fuck, did that bastard Lu Shizhou cheat on you? Did you catch him? Where are you? Send me your location. I'm going to chop him up and feed him to the dogs right now. Wanzhou, I cut through her fury, my voice unnervingly calm. Don't be rash. I need evidence, solid proof. The more, the better, and the more detailed, the better. Times, locations, people, money trails, everything. Lin Wanzhou was panting on the other end of the line, clearly furious, but she understood me perfectly. Got it, leave it to me. This dirty work is right up my alley. Just wait, I'll get people on it tonight. I'll dig up every last secret those two bastards have. Also, I added, my voice as cold as ice, help me find out everything about Lu Shizhou's assets, company shares, real estate, cash, investments, every hidden account, every asset he might try to move. I want the most detailed list possible. Understood. Lin Wanzhou spat through gritted teeth. He thinks he can leave you with nothing. In his dreams, I'll make sure that son of a bitch is left without a penny to his name. I hung up the phone and stood on the cold street, watching the endless stream of traffic. On a huge billboard was an advertisement for the new luxury development from Lu Shizhou's company, his triumphant face plastered across it like the very picture of success. My stomach churned violently once more. This time, I couldn't hold back. Leaning against a roadside tree, I retched violently, as if trying to expel my very insides. Tears welled up reflexively, but my heart felt frozen, utterly numb. Lu Shizhou's call came through, the screen lit up, displaying the word husband. A glaring, painful sight. I hung up immediately and blocked the number. In an instant, the world fell silent. I hailed a cab and gave the driver Lin Wanzhou's address. That so-called home now felt nothing but suffocating and filthy to me. Lin Wanzhou rented a 1-bedroom apartment in an old, quiet neighborhood nestled in the bustling city center. The place was a cluttered, lived-in mess. She answered the door in dinosaur pajamas, her hair a bird's nest, with a face mask on. Get in here. She yanked me inside, shut the door, and immediately wrapped me in a hug. That goddamn Lu Shizhou. Ji-wei, how are you holding up? Don't bottle it up. If you need to cry, just cry. You don't have to pretend around here. Her hug was so tight I could barely breathe, but that warmth and shared outrage felt like a sliver of light, cutting through a bit of the chill that had settled around me. I can't cry. I gently pushed her away and found a spot to sit on the sofa, which was littered with snacks and sketches. I feel sick. I think I'm going to be sick. Lin Wanzhou ripped off her face mask, revealing her striking, vibrant Features, she planted her hands on her hips, cry my ass, shedding a single tear for that scumbag is a waste of water, just wait, I'll get you your payback. She grabbed her phone with fierce determination and started making calls. Her voice was hushed but carried an ironclad resolve. Listening to her deftly reach out to her well-connected friends and orchestrate the investigation, I felt a strange sense of calm settle over me. So this is what it comes to, when you stop loving someone, or rather, when that love is ground to dust, all that remains is cold, calculated vengeance. In the days that followed, I lived like a ghost. I took an extended leave from work. I went back to that home once, while Lu Shijo was away, and quickly gathered my documents, a few changes of clothes, and some important personal keepsakes. As for the designer bags, jewelry, and fancy clothes, all bought with Lu Shijo's money, I found them utterly pathetic and left every single one behind. Lu Shijo probably thought I was playing hard to get, or that I was scared off by his charity. He called me a few times from different numbers. His tone shifted from initial angry demands, to impatient prodding, and finally to a hint of patronizing tenderness. Ji Wei, had enough of this tantrum, come home, that thing, it was my fault, I had too much to drink, just tell me what you want to make it right, I'll give that project to your cousin, how about that, or I'll buy you that necklace you liked last time. I listened, and all I could feel was contempt, in his eyes, my feelings, my dignity, they were all just commodities to be measured in projects and necklaces. I didn't reply with a single word, I just hung up and blocked the new number. Lin Wanzhou's progress was lightning fast, it's true, professional matters are best left to professionals. A few days later, a thick file folder was delivered to me. Inside were hotel check-in records of Lu Shijo and that woman named Su Man, a fledgling model dreaming of stardom. There were high-definition photos of them kissing in a parking garage, entering and exiting apartments, and even a short audio recording of them flirting in another one of Lu Shijo's secret hideaways. The timeline spanned a full year. In other words, during the time I was in and out of the hospital, at my most vulnerable from post-miscarriage complications, when I thought his coldness was just due to work stress and being overburdened, he was busy lavishing his passion on another woman. The most bitter irony is that the investigation revealed Su Man's apartment, her sports car, even the minor roles she was shoehorned into for various productions, all were funded by our marital assets. Lu Shijo was using our shared money to meticulously pamper his little songbird. Wait, it gets better. Lin Wanzhou pointed at another document, her eyes gleaming. That bastard was covering his tracks. On paper, he looks clean, but he's funneled most of his core assets, especially company shares and the most valuable real estate, through a complex web of shell companies and offshore holdings. The liquid cash and a few ordinary properties left in his domestic accounts add up to just a few tens of millions. Compared to his actual net worth, it's a drop in the bucket. He was dead set on making you voluntarily walk away with nothing. As I stared at the cold figures and intricate equity charts, I felt no pain in my heart anymore, only a hollow, deadening chill. Good, I said, closing the file. This will be more than enough. I hired the city's top divorce lawyer, a woman in her 40s with a surname of Qin, renowned for her expertise in complex asset division. Her gaze was as sharp as a hawk's. I laid all the evidence out in front of her. Lawyer Qin adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses, scanning the documents quickly. A professional, cold smile touched the corner of his mouth. Ms. Shin. The chain of evidence is solid. While the proof for bigamy might be insufficient, the facts are very clear. During the marriage, the other party cohabited with a third party and maliciously transferred and concealed marital assets. We are confident in securing your rightful share, and potentially more. I don't want potentially more, I said, looking Lawyer Qin straight in the eye. I want every single asset under his name that can be traced and divided, returned to me in full. Everything that's mine, I want back. For the parts he's hidden or transferred, we recover whatever we can, and for what we can't recover, I want him to pay an equivalent price. A flicker of approval passed through Lawyer Qin's eyes. Understood, leave it to me. The complaint and the application for property preservation were filed promptly. The court's efficiency was surprisingly swift, likely due to the enormous sum involved, or perhaps owing to Attorney Qin's reputation and tactics. Lu Shijo was served the summons at his company. He probably never dreamed in his wildest nightmares that I, his always docile and even somewhat timid hag of a wife, would so decisively burn our bridges and take him to court. Like an enraged lion, he stormed straight to Lin Wanzhou's apartment building to ambush me. I went downstairs to take out the trash when he grabbed my wrist. His grip was so tight it felt like he was trying to crush the bones. Shen Jiwei, have you lost your goddamn mind? His eyes were bloodshot, veins bulging at his temples. A far cry from the composed and elegant Mr. Liu he usually was. You're suing me, and filing for an asset freeze. What the hell are you trying to do? My wrist throbbed with pain, but I didn't struggle, I just stared at him coldly. I'm taking back what's mine. Let go. What's yours? Liu Shizhou laughed as if he'd heard the biggest joke of the century. He yanked me closer, the heavy stench of smoke and alcohol hitting my face. The food you eat, the clothes you wear, the things you use, which of them isn't mine? Shen Jiwei, get this straight, without me. Liu Shizhou, you are nothing, this shithole you live in, this garbage you eat, this is your life. Be smart, drop the lawsuit now, otherwise, I'll make sure you don't even have a street corner to beg on in this city. The ruthless contempt in his eyes was like a needle dipped in poison. I suddenly laughed, not a cold, mocking laugh, but a genuine one born of sheer absurdity. Liu Shizhou, have you forgotten? I looked at him, enunciating every word clearly. The first 500,000 yuan for your startup came from my mother selling our old family home and emptying her life savings. Your company survived its first winter because I worked overtime until midnight for 3 months straight, pouring my entire salary into your financial black hole. When you landed your first major client and drank yourself into the hospital with a bleeding ulcer, I was the one who nursed you day and night for 2 weeks. Everything you have now, every last cent, is soaked in my sweat and my family's blood. I wrenched my hand from his grip, rubbing my reddened wrist. Without you, I, Shen Jiwei, might not be rich, but I could have lived with dignity and integrity, not like this, treated by you as trash to be humiliated at will and discarded when used up. Liu Shizhou was stunned by the sheer hatred and resolve in my eyes, momentarily speechless. And another thing, I took a step closer, my voice dropping to an icy whisper. Do you really think you covered your tracks perfectly with those asset transfers, the nominee agreements, the offshore account statements? Liu Shizhou, we'll see the truth in court. I'm going to make you cough up every single cent you've swindled and stolen from me over the years, with interest. With that, I turned on my heel and walked away, refusing to look at his pale, contorted face any longer. His furious roar followed me out. Shen Jiwei, you fucking wait, you won't get away with this, you won't see a single penny. His impotent rage became the perfect soundtrack to my walk to the stairwell. The divorce proceedings were a long and grueling war of attrition. Liu Shizhou had also hired a top-tier legal team, pulling out all the stops. He tried to smear me as mentally ill, attempted to prove I had contributed nothing to the family, and even procured so-called friends to give false testimony, aiming to paint me as a greedy, extortionist madwoman. But against Attorney Chen's thunderous tactics and the mountain of irrefutable evidence I provided, his schemes appeared clumsy and laughable. In the courtroom, I watched Liu Shizhou across from me. Despite his tailored suit, he couldn't hide his agitation and defeat. As his lawyer's expression grew increasingly grim, a profound calm settled within me. When the judge finally delivered the verdict, confirming Liu Shizhou's gross marital fault, cohabitation with another, and his malicious acts of transferring and concealing our joint marital assets, granting our divorce, and awarding me the vast majority of his verified domestic assets, including liquidated company shares, multiple properties, cash deposits, etc., based on our evidence and petition, while also ordering him to provide substantial monetary compensation for the already transferred, currently irrecoverable portions. The color drained completely from Liu Shizhou's face. It was as if his spine had been ripped out. He slumped in his chair, his hollow eyes fixed on me, filled with disbelief and a sliver of concealed terror. He probably finally realized he had utterly lost his grip on the woman he once considered his for the taking, someone he could summon and dismiss at will. Stepping out of the courthouse, the sunlight was a bit too bright. Lin Wanzhou threw her arms around me excitedly. We won, Jiwei, we won. You're amazing. Attorney Chen is amazing. Attorney Chen also wore a rare, relaxed smile. Congratulations, Ms. Shen, the verdict is very favorable. I will follow up on the enforcement to ensure your rights are protected. I looked at the tall steps in front of the courthouse and let out a long, deep sigh. There was none of the wild elation I had imagined, only a heavy, bone-deep weariness that comes with finality, and a sense of utter exhaustion from finally breaking free of the shackles. Just then, Liu Shizhou stumbled out, looking utterly devastated. His hair was disheveled, his expensive suit wrinkled. The look he gave me was impossibly complex: fury, resentment, bitterness, and a trace of Something even he didn't seem aware of, a pitiful, almost begging plea. His lips parted slightly, as if he wanted to say something. Lin Wanzhou immediately stepped in front of me like a mother hen protecting her chick, planting her hands on her hips and snapping, "What are you staring at, you loser? Get lost, keep it up and I'll report you for harassment." Lu Shizhou was left speechless, his face turning ashen. In the end, he said nothing, just shot me a venomous glare before scrambling into his car and speeding away in a cloud of dust. Ugh, what a piece of junk, Lin Wanzhou spat at the cloud of exhaust. I pulled her along. Come on, Wanzhou, let's celebrate, my treat, you picked the place, the most expensive one, absolutely, let's eat him out of house and home. Lin Wanzhou linked her arm with mine, laughing heartily. On the day I received the massive compensation payout and my share of the assets, I went to the hospital. I've been having on and off abdominal pain and a low-grade fever since the miscarriage, and it seems to have gotten worse lately. I was so consumed by the divorce proceedings that I never got around to a proper checkup. The doctor looked over my test results, his brow furrowing deeper and deeper. "Ms. Shen, your situation isn't looking good," he said, pointing to an abnormal shadow on the CT scan. "The initial suspicion is stomach cancer, and judging by its progression, I'm afraid it's likely not in the early stages. You need to be admitted to the hospital immediately for a more detailed pathological biopsy to confirm stomach cancer." I froze. That word was like an icy bullet, instantly shattering the fragile, euphoric bubble of my newfound life. My vision went dark, and the familiar, wrenching pain in my gut returned, more intense than ever before. Fate had played a truly massive, cruel joke on me just when I had finally escaped the abyss that was Lu Shizhou and dared to believe I could start anew. It told me my time might be running out. "Doctor, what's the worst-case scenario?" My voice was unnervingly calm, a fact that surprised even me. The doctor sighed. "If it's advanced, and the spread is unfavorable, even with aggressive treatment, the prognosis could be measured in months." Clutching the thin piece of paper that felt heavier than lead, I walked out of the consultation room. The sharp, antiseptic smell of the hospital corridor burned my nostrils. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting bright patches on the floor. Outside, a bustling crowd teemed with the clamor of life, and I had been sentenced to death, with a stay of execution. There was no expected collapse into sobs, no hysteria. Strangely, that frozen, dead expanse within my heart seemed to have been cracked open by this sudden calamity. What welled up wasn't despair, but a bizarre, fatalistic calm, a sense of having nothing left to lose, even tinged with a hint of relief. So be it. There, now it's truly, completely clean. I took out my phone and dialed Lawyer Qin's number. "Lawyer Qin, it's Shinji Wei. There's something I need you to handle for me as soon as possible. I want to draft a will." I didn't check into the hospital. I refused the doctor's recommendation for an immediate biopsy. I know my own body, that sense of decay seeping from within, it doesn't lie. Hospitalization, chemotherapy, surgery, it's all just a waste of my final days, squandered on cold machines and endless, agonizing torment. I don't want that. I want to go with dignity, with my affairs in order. The only thing I can't let go of is my mother. She's still back in our hometown, and her health isn't good either. She's always believed I've been living a comfortable, stable life. I can't let her bear the pain of a parent burying their child, and I absolutely cannot let her know about the wretchedness I've endured these past years. Attorney Qin worked with remarkable efficiency. At my direction, a comprehensive will was swiftly drafted and notarized. All assets in my name, the substantial cash settlement recently obtained from Lu Shizhou, real estate, liquidated equity shares, along with my own modest marital savings, were pooled together. After deducting generous fees for Attorney Qin and Lin Wanzhou, the remainder was used to establish a trust fund. The fund has a single purpose: to anonymously wire a fixed monthly sum to my mother, sufficient for her to live out her remaining years comfortably in her hometown, with access to the best healthcare and quality of life, managed by a professional institution. The trust ensures this support continues like a steady stream until her passing. Any remaining funds are designated for donation to several charities dedicated to women's health and rights. Lin Wanzhou was the first to be informed. She rushed into my temporary rented apartment, took one look at my pale, gaunt face, and burst into tears like a child. "Shinji Wei, are you out of your mind? Why won't you go to the hospital? Why, we have the money now, the best hospitals, the best medicine, let's get you treated. You can be cured." She grabbed my shoulders and shook me, her face a mess of tears and snot. I gave a weak smile and patted her hand. Wanzhou, don't cry, I know my own body, rather than being hooked up to tubes in a hospital, wasting away with no dignity, let me spend my final days as I wish, on my own terms. As you wish, what does that mean, just waiting to die? Lin Wanzhou shouted, her eyes blazing red. No, I shook my head, my gaze drifting to the window where the sunlight was just right. It's a reckoning, a complete and final reckoning, Lin Wanzhou froze, then understood my meaning, a light of pain, fury, and utter helplessness flashed in her eyes. You're still thinking about that bastard, after everything he's done to you. It's not about thinking of him, I said calmly, it's about giving myself, giving the Shen Jiwei of the past, a real resolution, drawing a final line. Lin Wanzhou looked at me, then finally slumped to the floor in defeat. She covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking violently as suppressed sobs escaped her. I walked over and gently held her. Wanzhou, don't be sad, do me one last favor. She looked up at me, her eyes brimming with tears. Help me, arrange my funeral affairs, I said softly, as if speaking of something unrelated to myself. Make it the quietest, the simplest, then, help me send Lu Shizhou an invitation. Lin Wanzhou's pupils contracted sharply. I have less time than the doctors estimated. The illness progressed rapidly, the excruciating pain was nearly constant, day and night. Eating became extremely difficult, and I wasted away quickly, like a candle burning down to its end. Lin Wanzhou quit her job to stay by my side without leaving for a moment. She handled all the trivial matters for me, arranged a full-service funeral package, and as I requested, chose the most affordable option. A simple farewell ceremony followed directly by cremation. When I could barely get out of bed and my mind began to grow hazy, Lin Wanzhou, with red-rimmed eyes and trembling hands, followed my instructions and sent a simply designed electronic obituary, listing only the time and place, to Lu Shizhou, sender, Shen Jiwei Funeral Committee. That was the last thing I entrusted to her while I was still lucid. I wonder what expression Lu Shizhou wore when he received that obituary: shock, doubt, or, finally, a sigh of relief. It doesn't matter anymore. Just before my consciousness faded into darkness, I seemed to see him again, Lu Shizhou, that poor boy from all those years ago on our university campus. He was wearing a faded t-shirt, but his eyes shone with an astonishing brightness. Clumsily, he handed me a bottle of ice-cold orange soda, his face breaking into a radiant smile. Jiwei, he said, I'll marry you as soon as we graduate. Just wait until I make my fortune. I'll give you the best life imaginable. The taste of that orange soda was sweet, with the crisp, refreshing fizz of its bubbles. It's a shame, it's all in the past now. I passed away on a gloomy afternoon. There was no pain. It was just like falling asleep. Lin Wanzhou fainted from weeping several times. She forced herself to stay conscious, mustering the strength to arrange my pathetically simple farewell ceremony in the funeral home's smallest viewing room. There was only her, Lawyer Qin, and a few distant relatives I'd rarely spoken to in life, who had come upon hearing the news. The air was thick with the mingled smell of cheap incense and disinfectant. In the center of the room sat the cheapest urn, coated in a garish, poor-quality yellow lacquer. Inside it was Shen Jiwei, the woman who once loved Lu Shizhou more than her own life. The ceremony was so simple it was almost perfunctory. There was no funeral music, no lengthy eulogy. With swollen, red eyes, Lin Wanzhou only managed to say, Jiwei, rest in peace, in your next life, don't be so foolish. Then she broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. With a grave expression, Lawyer Qin bowed 3 times just as the ceremony was about to conclude and the staff were preparing to take the urn for storage. The heavy door of the farewell hall was flung open with a loud bang. A tall figure, carrying the chill of the outdoors, stumbled in. It was Lu Shizhou. He wore a black cashmere coat, his hair disheveled by the wind. His face was an unnatural, deathly pallor. His eyes shot through with terrifying red veins. He looked utterly haggard, as if he hadn't slept for days. With a shadow of stubble on his chin, the man radiated a frantic, near breaking point desperation. His gaze was locked on the solitary, cheap yellow urn at the front of the farewell hall. He stared at it as if he'd seen a ghost, his eyes filled with stunned disbelief and a kind of annihilating terror. No, impossible. His voice was a hoarse rasp, like sandpaper grating. He stumbled forward on unsteady feet, only to be intercepted by staff who had snapped to attention. Sir, please calm down. The service is over. Get out of my way. Lu Shizhou, like a beast unleashed, shoved the staff aside and lunged toward the urn. He reached out a hand, as if to touch the cold box, but his fingers trembled violently mere centimeters away before falling limply to his side. He lifted his head, his bloodshot eyes sweeping across the empty farewell hall, over the handful of stunned guests, before locking fiercely onto Lin Wanzhou. "Where is she? Where is Shinji Wei?" he roared, his voice distorted and raw. "Where is she? What the hell is this? What kind of sick game are you playing?" Lin Wanzhou wiped away her tears and stood up, her gaze, cold as ice, fell upon the man before her who seemed to have lost his mind. "Some kind of trick," she sneered, her voice dripping with venomous hatred. "Lu Shizhou, are you blind? Didn't you read the obituary? Shinji Wei is dead, the night before last, late-stage stomach cancer. Her ashes are right here in this box in front of you. Can you see it?" The word dead struck Lu Shizhou's temples like a pair of sledgehammers. His tall frame swayed violently, his face instantly turned ashen, and the frenzy in his eyes was replaced by a vast, hollow bewilderment. It was as if he couldn't comprehend Lin Wanzhou's words, or as if this truth had utterly shattered him. "No, it can't be, how could she?" he muttered to himself, staring blankly at the urn as if trying to see through its cheap lacquer finish to the person inside. "She's lying to me, she must be lying, she just wants to get back at me this way." Clutching at his last straw, his eyes suddenly turned fierce as he pointed at Lin Wanzhou. "It's you, you're all in on this together, lying to me. Where is Shinji Wei? Make her come out and see me." Lin Wanzhou was utterly infuriated by his self-deceiving act. She yanked a stack of documents from her bag and hurled them right into Lu Shizhou's face. The white papers scattered like snowflakes. They were the hospital's death certificates. The stark black print on white paper was unmistakably clear. Name: Shinji Wei, cause of death, gastric cancer, terminal stage, time of death, X year, X month, X day, X hour. There are also a few photos from my final days, where I was emaciated and lay lifeless in the hospital bed. Lu Shizhou recoiled as if scalded, stumbling back a step. With a trembling hand, he picked up the death certificate that had fluttered to rest by his feet. His gaze was riveted, nailed to the 3 characters of Shinji Wei and the cold, final date. Seconds ticked by. Yet he remained frozen in that hunched-over posture, utterly motionless. A deathly silence engulfed the farewell hall. The only sound was his own breathing, growing increasingly ragged and chaotic. Finally, ugh, ag, a guttural, inhuman roar, a sound of pure, agonized torment, erupted from the depths of his throat, as if all strength had been drained from him. His tall frame crashed to its knees, his hands clutched the thin death certificate with a white-knuckled grip, the veins bulging, threatening to tear the paper to shreds. His head hung low, shoulders heaving violently with ragged, animal-like sobs. Heavy tears fell, striking the cold terrazzo floor and spreading into dark, wet stains. A belated confession, or the unbearable emptiness and panic of losing what was yours. Lin Wanzhou looked at him in this state, her eyes holding not a shred of pity, only icy satisfaction and profound sorrow. "Believe it now, Mr. Liu." Her voice was laced with venom. "What a pity, it's far too late. Ji Wei didn't want to see your disgusting face ever again, right up until her death. In the will she left behind, she didn't mention you, not a single word." Lu Shizhou jerked his head up, his face a mess of tears and snot, utterly wretched, his eyes filled with annihilating despair. A will, what did she say?" Lin Wanzhou didn't answer him. Instead, she walked over to the cheap yellow urn and carefully picked it up, without so much as a glance at the man crumbling on the floor. She strode directly out of the farewell hall. Lu Shizhou jolted as if awakened, scrambling and stumbling forward to block her path and seize the box. "Where are you taking her? Give her to me. She's my wife, she's mine." His voice was shrill, laced with a frantic, possessive desperation. Lin Wanzhou nimbly sidestepped him, looking at him with utter disgust. "Your wife, Lu Shizhou. The day the court's final decree came down, you were divorced. She cut all ties with you long ago. What gives you the right? How dare you think you're worthy of touching her ashes?" "No, we haven't." The verdict isn't final yet. She's still my wife. Give her back to me." Lu Shizhou screamed incoherently, trying to snatch it back again. Lawyer Qin and the staff immediately stepped forward to restrain him. The scene descended into chaos. Lin Wanzhou, holding the urn, walked briskly out of the oppressive farewell hall. The gloomy daylight poured down outside. Behind the funeral home was a small lawn for families to scatter ashes. Right next to it was an active construction site, dust swirling in the air. Lu Shizhou broke free from the hands restraining him and chased after her like a man possessed, his voice raw with desperation. "Ji Wei, Shinji Wei, come back, please, come back. I was wrong, I know I was wrong." I won't divorce you, I don't want anything else, just come back. His heart-wrenching sobs echoed across the desolate grounds, drawing sidelong glances from people in the distance. Lin Wanzhou stood at the edge of the lawn. Holding the urn, she turned and watched the man, once so arrogant and domineering, stumble toward her, his face streaked with tears and snot, looking as wretched and pitiful as a stray dog. Her gaze was utterly, chillingly cold. Lu Shizhou, her voice was quiet, yet it cut through his wailing with perfect clarity. Before she died, Jimei had one last thing to tell me. Lu Shizhou halted abruptly, as if clutching at a lifeline. He looked at her, his eyes a desperate mix of hope and utter terror. Lin Wanzhou's lips twisted into a smile of the most exquisite cruelty. She said the greatest regret of her life was ever meeting you, ever marrying you. She said the very sight of you made her sick, to her core, to her very soul. The color drained from Lu Shizhou's face in an instant, and his body swayed. Lin Wanzhou no longer looked at him. She lowered her head and gently stroked the cold urn in her arms, as if soothing a sleeping infant. Then, under Lu Shizhou's suddenly widened gaze, which was filled with utter horror and disbelief, she yanked out the small, sealing plastic stopper from the urn. Then, to the horror of everyone watching, including the pursuing lawyer Qin and the staff, Lin Wanzhou raised the cheap, yellow urn high above her head. She turned it upside down, aiming it directly at the adjacent construction site, where dust swirled and machinery roared, and with a fierce jerk, she flung its contents out. The pale gray ashes, mingled with tiny, unburned bone fragments, resembled the finest snow dust of winter, or a sudden, pallid mist rising into the air. A gust of wind, churned up by the construction site and reeking of cement and damp earth, roared past with violent force. The wind caught that pallid mist, swirling it in a vortex as it swept, light yet resolute, toward the chaotic, grimy, clamorous construction site. In an instant, it merged with the sky full of yellow dust, becoming indistinguishable from it. Drifting and swirling, vanished without a trace, as if it had never existed. Jiwei, Lin Wanzhou said softly to the turbid wind, tears finally falling once more, as you wished, scattered to dust and ashes, leaving nothing behind. In the next life, you must be well. No. A piercing, soul-rending shriek of utter despair erupted behind Lu Shizhou, a sound so sharp it seemed to split the very sky. He watched, eyes wide with horror, as that patch of grayish-white was scattered by the wind and swallowed by the dust. In a frenzy, he lunged toward the edge of the construction site, stretching out a futile hand, desperate to grasp something, anything but. All he caught was a handful of filthy wind, gritty with sand and dust. His legs gave way, and he crashed heavily to his knees on the cold, muddy ground. He plunged his hands deep into the filthy earth, his body curling into a tight ball as he let out a choked, intermittent sob, a sound of utter, animalistic despair, as if from a dying beast. He was finished. 6 months later, a trendy new cafe had opened downtown, its interior tastefully and stylishly decorated. I sat by the window, a cup of warm lemon water in front of me. The afternoon sun streamed in, bathing me in its gentle warmth. Yes, I'm not dead. That death was the final curtain call I arranged for myself, and for the foolish Shen Jiwei of the past. The terminal stomach cancer was real, the doctor's diagnosis was correct. After receiving that verdict, my heart truly turned to ashes. I only wished for a quick end, even abandoning treatment. That death certificate was obtained through special channels, to sever all ties with the past and to protect my mother. Lawyer Qin knew the truth and helped me handle all the legal, posthumous affairs. Perhaps fate thought I hadn't suffered enough, or perhaps my time simply wasn't up. Just as I had everything in order and was quietly awaiting the end, Lin Wanzhou's miraculously resourceful social circle somehow managed to connect with an overseas authority. After reviewing my medical records, they believed that while my condition was critical, surgery wasn't entirely out of the question. It just came with extremely high risks. Lin Wanzhou begged me through her tears to take the gamble. I thought about the anonymous trust I'd already set up, securing my mother's future. Looking into Lin Wanzhou's tear-swollen eyes, I finally nodded. The surgery lasted over 10 hours, a true brush with death. They removed most of my stomach, and I battled countless life-threatening post-operative complications. It was Lin Wanzhou who sold her beloved, years-in-the-making collection of limited edition figurines and original artwork to cover the astronomical surgery and follow-up costs, staying by my side day and night abroad without rest. Miraculously, I survived. Though my health is a shadow of its former self and requires long-term care, my life was spared. During my recovery, I severed all ties with my past. I changed my identity, moved to a new city, and began a genuine new life. The trust fund operates smoothly, sending my mother a generous pension every month without fail. To this day, she believes I'm living a busy yet prosperous life overseas. Our occasional video calls, where I look well, courtesy of powerful beauty filters, put her mind at ease. Shin Yenin, came a voice brimming with energy. Lin Wanzhou burst into the cafe, laden with bags of health supplements. She plopped down across from me and slid a steaming cup of longan and red date tea my way. Quick, drink it while it's hot. It's good for your blood and energy, the doctor said you need to. Take extra good care of yourself right now. I took it with a smile. Got it, mother hen. Ugh, you ungrateful thing. Lin Wanzhou shot me a glare, then leaned in close, lowering her voice, though her eyes were shining with excitement. Hey, guess who I saw this morning in that new creative district out west? Who? I asked, taking a slow sip of my tea. Lu, she, Zhou. Lin Wanzhou enunciated each syllable, her tone dripping with undisguised schadenfreude. My hand holding the cup paused for a fraction of a second before I regained my composure. Oh, you should have seen the state of him. Lin Wanzhou launched into a vivid description. Skinny as a rake, with sunken eyes and hair that had gone quite gray, he was wearing this crumpled, ill-fitting old suit, bowing and scraping to some guy who looked like a small-time boss, trying to sell him something, insurance, maybe, or some financial product. Anyway, he was groveling like a total lackey, and guess what happened next? Lin Wanzhou's eyes sparkled with glee. That boss seemed to recognize him. He just tossed the flyer Lu handed him straight on the ground, then he pointed right in his face and yelled, "You made your fortune swindling women, and you still have the nerve to come out here and scam people, get lost." A whole crowd had gathered to watch the show. Lin Wanzhou mimicked the little boss's tone, nailing the impression perfectly. Lu Shizhou's face, I tell you, turned all sorts of reds and whites, like a die shop had exploded. Didn't dare squeak a word of protest, just slunk down to pick up his lousy flyers. She laughed, slapping the table. Karma, instant karma, serves him right. I heard his company went bankrupt ages ago, liquidated everything, sold his house and car and still couldn't cover the debts. Now he's just a stray dog with no home to go to. Totally proves what Jiwei said. He's been stripped down to his last thread. Ha ha ha. Sunlight streamed through the glass window, warm and cozy on my skin. I picked up the cup and took a sip of the warm tea. The sweet fragrance of longan and red dates bloomed on my tongue. Outside the window, the streets were bustling with traffic and a steady stream of people. The coffee shop door swung open, its bell jingling. A man shuffled in timidly. He wore a cheap suit, his hair was a disheveled mix of gray, and his frame was gaunt and stooped. His eyes were evasive, carrying the numb, cowed look of someone utterly crushed by life. He approached the counter, his voice hoarse and servile. Excuse me, is your shop hiring? I can do anything, even cleaning. The barista refused with polite detachment. I'm sorry, sir, we're not hiring at the moment. The man's shoulders slumped. He muttered a thank you, then turned away, looking utterly lost. As he turned, his gaze swept unconsciously past my window. Our eyes met briefly in the air. I watched him calmly. It was a face utterly ravaged by time and failure, with sunken eyes, prominent cheekbones, and nasolabial folds carved as deep as knife wounds. His gaze was murky and vacant, exuding a lifeless, twilight gloom. The once high-spirited Mr. Lu was now just a humble, down-and-out middle-aged man, ground into the dust by life. His eyes lingered on my face for less than a second. There was no recognition, only a hollow, vacant bewilderment. Then, as if avoiding something filthy, he swiftly averted his gaze, hunched and head bowed. He slipped out of the coffee shop like a gray shadow. Without a sound, the wind chime tinkled softly once more. Ugh. What's that unlucky sod doing here? What an eyesore. Lin Wanzhou followed my gaze to the door, curling her lip in disdain before eagerly steering the conversation back. Oh, right, Nianen, I've got some great news. I landed a huge contract. The client is super generous. What do you want for dinner? My treat. Let's celebrate properly. I shifted my gaze away, looking out the window at the bright sunshine and the bustling, vibrant crowd on the street. The glass window clearly reflected my image, a face still somewhat pale, yet with eyes that were calm and peaceful. Sure, I turned my head and offered Lin Wanzhou a genuine, relaxed smile. I'd like crab roe noodles, that flavor, which once carried humble hopes and ultimate betrayal. Now, it's just an ordinary bowl of soup noodles, to be savored in peace. The page that belonged to Shin Jiwei, along with her ashes, had long been scattered by the wind, cast into the grimy dust of the past. And I am Shin Yanan, wishing for a lifetime of Peace. The end. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be bringing you new and exciting content every week, so you won't want to miss it. Feel free to share your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. Let's discuss. Remember to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you next time.